the mother who waited at the gate. In a small dusty village surrounded by red earth and mango trees, there lived a poor woman named Amaka. Every morning before sunrise, she carried firewood on her head and walked from street to street just to feed her little son Kene. Kene was all she had. Her husband had died when Kene was only 2 years old, leaving behind nothing except debts and a leaking mud house. But despite the suffering, Amaka always smiled at her son and said, "As long as I breathe, you will never sleep hungry." At night, while others rested, Amaka washed clothes for rich families under cold water. Her fingers became rough and cracked, but she never complained. Whenever Kene asked, "Mama, why do you work so hard?" she would smile softly and reply, "Because one day, my son will become somebody great." Years passed. Kene grew into a brilliant young man. He studied under lantern light while his mother stayed awake beside him, chasing mosquitoes away so he could focus. Sometimes Amaka secretly skipped meals so Kene could eat. But Kene never knew. One rainy season, Kene gained admission into a university in the city. The entire village celebrated. Amaka sold the only piece of land her husband left behind just to pay his school fees. The night before he traveled, she entered her room quietly and cried. Not because she was sad, but because for the first time in years, she finally believed her suffering had meaning. Before Kene boarded the bus, Amaka held his hands tightly and said, "Promise me one thing. No matter how successful you become, never be ashamed of where you came from." Kene nodded. "Never, Mama." But the city changed him. At first, he called every day, then once a week, then once a month. Eventually, the calls stopped completely. Years later, Kene became a wealthy businessman. He wore expensive suits, drove luxury cars, and spoke polished English. He no longer told people about the poor village he came from. And he never mentioned his mother. Back in the village, Amaka waited every evening by the old wooden gate, hoping to see her son return. Villagers often asked, "Mama Kene, has your son called?" She would force a smile and answer, "He is busy making me proud." But at night she cried alone. One harmattan morning, Amaka collapsed while carrying water. The villagers rushed her to a small clinic. The doctor shook his head sadly. She was very weak. Before closing her eyes, Amaka whispered, "Please call my son." The villagers tried reaching Kene for days, but his number was unreachable. 3 days later, Amaka died. The entire village mourned her. Even in death, her wrinkled hands still held the old photo of little Kene. A week later, Kene finally returned to the village in a shiny black SUV. But instead of hearing his mother's voice, he met silence. An old woman from the village handed him a small box. Inside was a folded letter. With trembling hands, Kene opened it. It read, "My son, if you are reading this, it means I have gone to rest. I never blamed you for staying away. I only prayed that life would be kinder to you than it was to me. I kept waiting at the gate because I believed one day you would come back and call me Mama again. Don't cry for me, my child. Just become the good man I raised you to be. Your mother." Kene fell to his knees. For the first time in years he cried like a child. Not because he was poor. Not because he lost money. But because he realized success meant nothing when the person who sacrificed everything for him was gone forever. That evening, villagers saw Kene sitting alone beside his mother's grave until sunset. And for the first time since becoming rich, he whispered, "Mama, I came back."